Hi everyone. This week I wanted to talk about something that is very near and dear to the heart of every statistician out there, and that's something called the empirical rule. Now, the empirical rule says that if you're dealing with something that can be distributed via the beautiful bell-shaped curve here, most popular curve in all of statistics, I would say, then it turns out you can actually learn a lot about that information. It's nice. If I told you, hey, the average IQ score was 100, hey, that's great. That tells me it's 100. But if my IQ is 110, or if my IQ is 84, something like that, is that good? Is that bad? Well, all you can say is whether or not it's above or below average. I can't tell you how far above average it is, or a kind of a good range of values for what a good IQ score would be. That's what the empirical rule can do for us. The empirical rule says that if you go one standard deviation below the mean up to one standard deviation above the mean, so if you're in this range of values, 68% of the data, whatever you're measuring, should fall in that range. So for example, with IQ scores, well, if the average IQ score was 100, which is actually not far from the truth, or might actually be the truth, and if the standard deviation IQ score was 15, again, that's quite close to the true answers. Well, if I go one standard deviation below the mean, which is 85, or I go up to one standard deviation above the mean, which is 115, that creates a range of values of 85 to 115. Well, according to my empirical rule here, 68% of the data should fall in that range, which means 68% of people should fall between an 85 to 115 IQ score. So hey, that starts to give you an idea of scale. If you have an IQ of 158, well, you're well above this range, you're above the high end of this range, so you know that you don't fall in the middle 68%, you know you fall somewhere else. It goes even further. Within two standard deviations of the mean, about 95% of the data should fall, and within three standard deviations of the mean, that's what this mu plus 3 sigma means, mu minus 3 sigma, within three standard deviations of the mean, 99.7% of the data should fall. So for IQ scores, if you go three standard deviations from the mean, so instead of just subtracting 15, you subtract 15 three total times basically, or add 15 three total times, that's going to give you 100 minus 45 versus 100 plus 45. So some quick little mental math. That's a range of 55 to 145. That says, hey, if you fall in this range here, between 55 and 145 for your IQ, well, that's three standard deviations from the mean in either direction. So between 55 and 145 IQ score, 99.7% of people will fall into that range. That means if you have a 168 IQ, that's a really high IQ because you're well above even what the 99.7% will fall in. It's very rare to observe an IQ that high.